This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Today, for your listening pleasure, please enjoy the musical stylings of the Internet. What's happening online, big time, is music. So I'm going to go ahead and sing the rest of this intro. Please welcome music promoter Ben Schechter from What the Sound, along with musicians Elizabeth Woolf, Jeremy Schmetterer, say that 10 times real fast, and Eda Green, Eda Green. I'm Jamie Alcroft here with fellow panelists Lori Rogenkamp and Break It Down for Louise Palenka. Wheezy?
Thank you, Jamie. That was absolutely hypnotic.
I'm exhausted.
The internet has overhauled.
I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted just listening to it.
I know. Should we all take a
all
little
right,
nap?
get him his cape. The internet has overhauled and retooled the road from artist to listener. The point of entry for an aspiring artist was once the coveted record deal, which brought potential radio airplay and placement in record stores. Touring supported the record sales, which were the key revenue source. Just a tiny history class here. At the dawn of the recording industry in, say, the 20s, records were meant to boost concert sales. Then, post-World War II, the Depression had lifted. We had teenagers with some walking around money, seeking and finding their voice through the music they loved. And the power of recorded music was recognized, ushering in 50 years of wild profits, payola, corruption, and, of course, artist exploitation. Plus, a lot of really great music. Have we come full circle? Is recorded music once again designed to promote live events? How are many young artists using the internet to promote and share their music? We have a whole panel here to discuss that very question. Ben Schechter is here with me. Ben books, curates, and promotes concerts around town in small venues. How do you see the current artist-to-listener paradigm, Ben?
Yeah, thanks, Wheezy. Good question.
Yeah. It's a lengthy question.
Yeah.
Is it over?
Stretch.
Part one.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I guess, could you rephrase that question maybe in a different...
Let's say at the beginning, before anyone realized the potential power of recorded music as a sales vehicle of its own, it was like if we release these records, then people on 78s, on a Victrola, then people will know the song, and then when the artist comes to town, they'll be like, let's go see the guy who sings that jazzy number, right? So maybe we've come full circle where we're giving away a lot of music for free or for very little money. Spotify's making money, I guess. But the idea to get people familiar with their music so that when they play out, people will be like, I want to go see those guys. I love that song.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. I really think that Spotify and SoundCloud and Bandcamp are extremely helpful for artists these days to get their music out, and social media is a great proponent of pushing and promoting. The Spotify and all those social, streaming platforms are really, really, there's a ton of music on there. So... yeah, there's a ton of music on there, so I think it's maybe harder. I mean, I don't know. I didn't grow up really looking and booking music when there wasn't Spotify and SoundCloud and Bandcamp, so I'm not really sure how many people were looking, how many bands each person had, how many vinyls each person had in their room, how many tickets each person was willing to buy each, month, each year. SoundCloud, Spotify kind of opens up just the opportunity to find so many new music and, kind of overpopulates maybe how many concerts you could go to.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. Are you noticing more because of Spotify, like a more global reach? Because I remember I grew up and live in Anaheim, and the bands that I would go to, it was always like talk of like these bands are great in Anaheim, but like one day they want to make it big. Whereas now I feel like bands that are starting out are already known. Like I have a friend who just started a band. He can see like where people are listening to him, and a lot of people in Vietnam are listening to him. And so have you noticed that like it's a more global reach rather as like a pocket reach?
Yeah, absolutely. The global factor of these streaming platforms are really cool.
How does that play into like promoting for shows and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's great when you find, a baby artist over in the UK who has a, record label that's pushing and putting money behind playlisting and for when it's time to get them over to the States, they could maybe be more ready with the help of Spotify than they were prior. I don't promote in Europe, but I've got some friends in a band called Karmic who are really cool, and they are local. They're LA based, and they could sell, a good amount of tickets in LA and maybe around the country, but they're huge in Austria and Germany.
Wow.
And kind of the, middle European countries. Their music has been picked up for sync licensing for some major makeup brands and car commercials out there. And I think that was all kind of because of Spotify and certain A&Rs and licensors heard their music.
So what are the revenue stream? What are the revenue streams that artists are seeking? Like, what's the best way for you to call your mom and say, "I'm making a living"?
So I think Jeremy and Elizabeth and maybe Eda can contribute to that. But I mean, I know touring is a good moneymaker. I know sync licensing is as well and publishing. But maybe you guys have other.
So writers have power. All right, we're going to get to you guys in one moment. First, I want to introduce Ben's website, What the Sound. And you've created a brand with What the Sound. Not only do you interview and profile artists, you also put on shows. So there's What the Sound. And tell us what we'll find if we go there.
Yeah, cool. So the homepage of What the Sound are a bunch of interviews. I basically, started it a few years ago while in college, and I just up-and-coming artists who I really thought were great. And instead of DMing 50 of my friends on Facebook saying, "Hey, check out this artist I just found," I figured it'd be beneficial for me to establish a relationship, reach out to these artists from all over the country and all over the world, and get on Skype with them and talk with them. When I first started, I interviewed maybe 10 bands from Australia and a few bands from Europe. And those are, relationships that I've kept, and I'm going to London in a couple weeks, and I'm meeting up with some of the people I interviewed a few years ago who are, making it and playing festivals. So that's cool. You could find on the website a presents section. That's predominantly what I'm doing now, What the Sound presents. I put on shows in 100 to 500 capacity rooms around town. Jeremy and Elizabeth have both been on What the Sound shows.
Does he feed you?
Does he feed us?
Yeah. Do you get?
He feeds our careers.
The green
I
room?
feed their careers.
How's the crafty?
Feed them with passion. So yeah, I put on a fair amount of shows. I have maybe 10 in between now and mid-August. 5 are announced, and 5 are going to be announced soon. All in venues, Hotel Cafe, Resident, the Bootleg, Gold Diggers, the Peppermint Club, kind of all over town. So
That's awesome.
Bardot, do you know any Bardot?
Bardot I don't do, but I go there to kind of find up and coming.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you use the internet to find talent? Where do you
so I'm subscribed to some Song of a Day podcasts. KEXP is a Seattle radio station. The Current's a radio station based in Minneapolis. I find that those two, in addition to KCRW in LA, really highlight kind of up and coming acts, and those specific DJs kind of have their eye and have their ear to the ground. There's a website called The Deli Magazine. It's they're not a really popular website, but they do have a cool feature where you could track artists who are up and coming, rising stars, already established, and they're different genres. So I use that. And a lot of me finding artists are friends just saying, "Hey, my younger brother's girlfriend's cousin knows this band. Check them out. Let me know what you think. They're from Memphis or they're from Florida." And I reach out, and then I say, "Who else do you like from this area?" I like reaching out to college radio stations and say, "Who are your favorite bands on campus right now? Who just graduated? Who was big, 2 years ago? Let me know." And kind of finding acts that way.
Well, who have you brought for us today, Ben?
Yeah, so Elizabeth Woolf is a really cool, both are singer-songwriters and all-around musicians. And Elizabeth Woolf has been on a few of my What the Sound shows, and we have some coming up as well. And Jeremy is in multiple projects. And two just good friends that I've met through music out here.
Awesome. Welcome. So we're going to take a look at you guys online. I hope you're up for this challenge. Can you please click on Elizabeth Woolf's website? It's very expansive. So I enjoyed looking through your website. It's well presented.
Oh, thank you.
And so how
I
much
made it myself.
you did? What platform are we using here?
WordPress.
WordPress. Okay. So that's advanced. It comes with widgets, and you have to
It
know
is
what you're
very hard, and it took me a very long time, and I'm still learning.
Did
But it
you
was worth it.
Did you watch a
Thank
lot
you.
of YouTube
Absolutely.
tutorials?
A lot of YouTube tutorials. I actually asked my mom because she has a business as well, and she's been working on her own website.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
And
There's
you-
a switch. You usually have to ask your kids. about
Right?
Computer
That's
stuff.
right.
My mom is very techie. She's
That
great.
is so handy.
That's great. A techie mom.
Does she have an afternoon? I could use it.
Yeah.
I'll set it up.
I just
Elizabeth
had
is
cold sweats imagining having to go to my parents for tech help.
Oh
Yeah,
my
no kidding.
God.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like talking my mom through how to attach something to an email
Oh my gosh.
took about a day and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Finally,
yeah.
I just drove over. Elizabeth is currently recording her debut full-length album. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. This is perfect timing. I'm headed down to Long Beach on Thursday with my band to finish recording pretty much the whole record. We've tracked a lot of it in my friend Harry's garage, and he's my producer. He's also my drummer, and he's really helped me shape the vision of what I want it to be.
That's great.
I'm really excited. It's nice to think of it, especially in this day and age. A lot of people think singles, and I love that mindset. But I have a theater background, and being able to think of something musically as a cohesive project and story has helped my artist growth tremendously.
That's
So you're thinking about the track list and the flow.
Absolutely.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
the flow of it. My daughter released an album last year, and she did a flow between the tracks.
Oh, cool.
So the tracks are all interconnected. They have to be separated for. Yeah. Well, like the Beatles is what inspired her. Just
Yeah.
things go into each other, and I can't imagine putting an album together any other way than to say, what feels right. What's next?
I couldn't agree more.
people are still going to cherry pick, and so you have to keep that in mind
Yeah.
Right.
You
when it
do.
comes to
you
music.
can't connect them too much. Right.
But it did used to be an experience where you'd hold the album and you'd read all the art, you'd read the artwork
Yeah.
and look at the liner notes, and you would be in someone's dorm room and just having that experience together. And it was cool if it was like the Moody Blues or something, and it was kind of mystical, and it meant
so
to
far out.
impart a feeling that you kind of want to own. Like, wow.
Yeah. It's
Well,
a
and
chapter.
that's one thing that brings me to something I wanted to talk about was the embracing your fans and entitling your fans to be your fans.
You have to
not
give them a name.
necessarily your friend.
You have to give them a
Yeah,
name. Do your
you have
fans
to-
have a name?
My daughter's fans
do
are
you
Keokians.
There you go.
Oh, cool.
That's a good one.
She's Haley Kyoko, so they're Keokians. And all the Keokians are, just rabid. They're
They are.
fans. They're huge fans. And I must say that, what we're talking about is launching music through the internet and you discovering new music through the internet and also these artists launching themselves through the internet. And I think one of the most important parts about what Haley did was she let her fans know how much she loved them. And it was genuine. It
Mutual.
was a genuine love of her fans and how they embraced her, accepted her, and showed her that love. But it happened because she showed them love first.
There's a
I
relationship.
think. And
How
then
did she do that?
She formed a relationship online. She would talk before her songs, and then she'd sing a song, and she'd talk
Like-
to her fans maybe after a song.
Where, on what platform?
I
Like, what was she when she started out? What was she?
just shorted out.
Was she using MySpace or?
Yeah, it was MySpace actually. Her first one.
Really?
Her
Was
first
it like a
one.
live video?
It was
type of thing?
Friendster, actually. She found people on Friendster.
It was a fax machine.
Yeah. Follow her.
She
on
was
Actually,
faxing her
She
music.
started on an 8-track fax machine. I bought it for her.
So, but I'm noticing on your website, Elizabeth, under Spotify, it says that if you listen or buy, it says Spotify link will share email address with artists. Mm-hmm. Is that helping you establish a relationship with your fans? So if they click to listen, you automatically get their email address.
Yeah, it's tremendously helpful. I'm about to launch a Kickstarter as a pre-sale for my record. And so I'm going through my email list and consolidating it so that I can send out a big blast. And because I have so many people come up to me at shows saying, I want to learn more. How do I find out? Or reaching out to me online, same kind of thing. And I'm finding that starting an email list is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, and passing around a clipboard is so awkward. Then you get it home and you're like, is this a D or a P?
Totally.
So this helps a ton. Let's go to Elizabeth.
God, I thought we were off the air for a minute.
No, it was
I
just
panicked.
me.
I thought there was maybe an alert.
No, we're fine. It was just me losing my place in the rundown. But I want to go to Elizabeth on Instagram because a lot of artists are really using Instagram. Like that's kind of your go-to platform.
Totally.
And so if you would click on a song that Elizabeth wrote and recorded, it's a trailblazing composition in 3-part harmony, and it's entitled "Why Don't You Come Out to a Show?" Mm-hmm. I was moved by this.
That's great.
Oh,
I love
wow.
it. Sitting around the tree.
Go ahead,
Why don't you come out to a show?
That was really fun to make. Oh, you're dancing.
Why don't you come out to a show? Why don't you come out to a show?
The Tree is my favorite band member.
Why don't you come out to a show?
We need you for the next one.
This is so good. Someone didn't have the song sheet.
Yeah, we messed it up at the end.
Did you rehearse that, or was that just like...
We rehearsed it 2 times at that park that day. That's actually a band called More Fatter that I played a What the Sound show with.
Okay.
Oh.
Small World, actually. I was introduced to that band through another friend like a month prior because they're going on tour in the fall, and she wanted to set us up to maybe do some shows together. Mm-hmm. And then coincidentally, the next week, Ben Schechter messages me and he says, I have a show for you. You're going to be playing in LA with More Fatter. So there was a lot of kind of funny reasons why we should meet. And then we improvised this fun promotional video for the show.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that you can do nowadays is you can be immediate and be fun and show your personality, which brings me to the question, like, how much of your personality are you comfortable showing? Does it feel mandated? So like Eda, who we're going to get to in a moment, is just kind of 18. So she kind of like doesn't even know exactly who she is. So you could record a song and get fan mail in the 70s or whatever. And now it's like people want to know what you look like at every time of the day. Like when you wake up, what does your hair do?
Oh. It's part of it. It's so weird.
So how do you...
All of it.
Yeah. So talk about that for a moment.
You're still growing your limbs, right?
Yeah.
You're still growing.
I barely learned to talk yet.
Yeah.
She goes to a pediatrician.
Yeah.
And I'm 70 and I forget who she is.
But like, how do you feel about sharing that much of yourself? Or is there still like a public-facing personality that's different from the personality that your friends know?
I think a little bit of both. I try to be as authentic as I can on the internet. But it's kind of like when you're 18 and being asked to apply to college and, you're like, why me? Why this campus? That's how I feel sometimes with Instagram in terms of, why me? Why this platform? Why this music? Why, But I look at it in a positive way of how can I bring the parts of myself that I find are funny, Yeah. And I think the more I can just find amusement and enjoyment out of my own artistic journey and share that with others, that's when I get the most, at least engagement and
that's what I'm talking about is engagement from the fans. And
totally,
they're following you and commenting on you, and just it's crazy. And I hate to keep going back to Haley, but she did start online, and one of the first things she did with her first video was she went to Taco Bell, and her song was "A Bell to Remember." And she was blasting it in her car. And she went to the Taco Bell drive-ins and introduced herself and say, hey, this is me. This is what I do here. And she'd pass out her album to Taco Bell people and put it online. And then and everybody loved it. And
That's
it was
Did she
amazing.
tag Taco
And
Bell?
why Taco Bell didn't pick her up as a national spokesman, I'll never know. But anyway, but it's that kind of thing. It's what you did around that tree. You created fun, and somebody who wants to be doing what you're doing, someone who admires you for doing what you're doing, and not is just envious of you, but admires you for what you're doing.
And want to be in that circle.
They want to be in
Totally.
that. They
Yeah.
love that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. I wanted to be there sitting around the tree.
I want to
Next
come
time you
out to the
should be.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna-
Yeah.
And we have with us Jeremy Schmetterer, who's here on Instagram, if you gentlemen would click on his link. And so I noticed, Jeremy, your bio is very terse.
And you
It
just go by
reads-
Schmet.
Yeah, my last name is Schmetterer.
Schmetterer.
And
Schmet.
it's
yeah.
not, I'm still trying to figure out what to call myself as an artist, actually. I'm working on that. So if you guys have any ideas.
Maybe Eda Green. Eda Green.
Green.
Oh, wait,
I like
taken.
green. No, is
Sorry.
it?
All right, so describe how you present yourself on Instagram, Jeremy.
So I'm working on a number of different projects. I came out to LA 2 years ago working with my friend Jack Fargetstein, and we have this band called the Motel Brothers, which is a singer-songwriter project. And then I also work with an artist collective called the House of VV, working as a producer and a guitar player. And then on top of that, I'm playing guitar and working with a whole bunch of different artists. And then on top of all that, I'm finally getting around to recording my first solo record and figuring out what I'm going to be as an artist.
Right.
So with all that, I'm still trying to figure out who I am on the internet and who I want to be on here. And I don't post a lot. I've been pretty sparse with my sharing so far.
Well, it sounds like you're holding off to sort of figure out which direction you're going to be devoting yourself to.
Yeah,
And right now
totally.
you're planting a lot of seeds
I'm
and
working on a lot of
figuring out what
different things.
grows.
And your
Exactly.
direction's going to show you
Yeah.
the way. It's going to tell
Totally.
you. You're going to just see it.
Yeah.
It'll be
Now-
very clear.
Yeah.
You have one post that I was obsessed with. If you lads would click on that one. This is kind of awesome.
That's a fun one.
You can go ahead and talk over this.
Yeah,
Tell us how-
that
tell us how you
is.
did it.
Bass.
That's me on guitar, and that's my buddy Isaac Van Dyne on bass. He lives in Columbia, Missouri. We went to college together, actually. And, he sent that to me. We talked about... That's the cool thing about the internet, is like having these music production softwares in our homes and in our living rooms and stuff. Like, he can be in Missouri, I can be in LA, and we can send each other tracks and record a video and just like create something together.
So what app did you use to create this?
I recorded my guitar through Logic. I usually produce on Logic. I imagine he used Ableton for his stuff. And then we edited the video on Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, totally.
It was
It
awesome.
was cool.
That
And
was
I
very
mean,
cool.
like, collaboration is everything right now, and that was just
It is
jamming with a
always
friend. Totally.
and
What a
forever.
great sound.
How-
Very
Thanks.
Chick Corea.
How important is a YouTube presence for young artists?
Well,
YouTube's hard. It
It's hard.
it is for me, at least. I know people who are really successful on YouTube, but I don't know how important YouTube is moving forward. I don't know. I think Instagram and all these other social medias provide pretty much the same thing. And now you're seeing artists posting their full, they'll put a whole music video like on Instagram TV or something like that, which is pretty cool. So I don't think YouTube's ever going to like go away. I think it's still an important platform. Me personally, I haven't really tapped into it too much. I had a couple videos back in like high school that went like somewhat viral, a few
Humble brag.
thousand, just
cool.
but I
Let me posit this that YouTube might be valuable to you in terms of exposure
totally
to older people who tend, not all the time, but are likely to be in positions of power
totally.
that can change your career or get you a agent or a label.
May I add something?
Please.
This is actually very interesting because I released my first music video in February.
We're going to play a little of that after the commercial break.
Oh, great.
Go ahead.
Great.
Yeah.
But I released it on everything just to see what would
Yeah.
happen.
Okay.
Same video on
Okay.
Instagram TV, YouTube, Facebook, I think something else as well. And just
what happened?
Friendster.
It had way more views on Facebook, which I thought was just very interesting. And it might just be because Facebook plays the video automatically as you start scrolling down. But it was an interesting test to see kind of where your fans are already and what platform
What lands.
they're using.
All right, hold for a moment while we play some very fascinating commercials for you.
You won't find a better quantum physicist than Dr. Gra Horatio.
How do you do? I am Dr. Gra Horatio, a scientist.
However, like many of us, he's useless without a good cup of coffee.
Thanks to coffee, I can accomplish more in a week than a regular scientist can in a month, with just as many psychotic breakdowns. It's quite economical in the long run.
You can hear Dr. Horatio and his exciting adventures in the upcoming radio comedy, Magus Elgar. Visit MagusElgar.com to download your copy today.
Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm one of the hosts of Massive Late Fee. Do you remember Blockbuster? Well, we do, and we racked up a lot of late fees there. That's why we're glad there's things like Netflix, Hulu, and Blockbuster has died, mostly because of us. We cover streaming shows and pretty much whatever we want. Join us every Thursday as we talk TV and movies on Massive Late Fee. You can find us at Massive Late Fee on Twitter, Massive Late Fee on Facebook. You can email the show at massivelatefee@gmail.com, and you can find us at MySpace, Massive Late Fee. Massive Late Fee, the best podcast we can think of.
How many times did he say the word massive? Anyone counting?
I visited Massive Late Fee last year.
If this were Big Brother, that would be a quiz question to
Beautiful
win
country.
head of household.
That's right.
How many times did you hear the word massive? All right, we're back. I'm Louise Planker here with Jamie Alcroft, Lori Roggenkamp, Eda Green, Ben Schechter, Jeremy Schmetterer, and Elizabeth Woolf. And of course, Maddie's here. And our friends are here in town from Cincinnati. Yes, it's Trip and Connor Eldridge from Cincinnati.
Please.
Round of applause. I promised you Eda's video. I promised you Elizabeth's
I was like, that's
video.
not released yet, Louise.
Elizabeth.
You are so sweet to me. You take your time. You stare into the parts I try to hide. I could get used to this. I could get used to this now. I could get used to this. That's what scares me the most. I could get used to this. I could get used to this now. I could get used to this. That's what scares me the most. The most. The most. That's what scares me the most. The most.
That's so cozy. I
Thank you.
love the
Love
song. The
those
song
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Lovely.
I
Thank you
was
so much.
very offended by how much popcorn was being wasted.
There was a lot of ways to go.
I'm so sorry. No popcorn was harmed in the making of the film. I
popcorn
will
was
let you
eaten
know.
either.
So that was, just to clarify, that was Elizabeth's song. So tell us how you made the video.
I actually came up for the concept of that video one night. It just hit me. I knew I was going to be releasing the single in February, and at the beginning of January, it was maybe, I think I just finished watching 500 Days of Summer.
That'll
And then
do it.
I finished watching it maybe midnight, and then I couldn't fall asleep. I was awake. I was so inspired by some of the filming and some of the art of that movie. I stayed up till 4 just completely mapping out the music video. And the way Cosmic Things would have it, the next day I was at a friend's party, and she introduced me to a friend of a friend, college roommate, whatever, who was an amazing cinematographer. His name is Stephen Whiterich. And then the next day I met another friend of a friend who's a great director. And so then the three of us put it together.
It's very rich and warm if you're listening at home and you're driving your car. It just kind of envelops you in this feeling. Like what we want music to do is to, evoke these feelings. And who's the young man?
A dear friend of mine. His name is Julian Borrego.
So
also
adorable.
a great artist.
Love him. And so now we're going to focus on Eda for just a moment. Here is Eda on Instagram. Please follow her.
Is that legal since she's 18?
You,
is she allowed to be on Instagram?
She's legal. Eda,
I don't know. Ask Epstein.
And Eda,
I'm scared.
since you are a young person, tell us about the thought that you put into presenting yourself online and how much of yourself you're comfortable presenting.
I think that the people around me would prefer that I put more thought into it than I do. But I only got Instagram about a year and a half ago because I didn't have it for a while, and I try to, like as Elizabeth was saying, try to be as authentic as I can be when I post things, but I try to keep it all kind of in a cohesive. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm doing. The updates.
Mm-hmm.
I should put more thought into it, but I don't really as much.
Because I've known you since you were 13 or 14, and you've been rebranding yourself. You changed your name, you changed your style of music, and I know you've had a lot of adults around you sort of helping you cultivate a brand, and then you got to a certain age, as a lot of young people do, where you're like, no, don't tell me who I am or what I create. I'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly. I when I started, I was more of like very poppy and colorful, and I was 13 to 14, 15. I did like, that kind of music. And then as I got older, I started morphing more into finding people that I actually, could make music with that I really enjoyed versus just kind of doing it for the sake of doing it. So more recently, I've kind of come into really the spot that I want to be in, which is kind of a more dark area. With,
call it your happy spot.
Yeah, my happy. You've seen it. Yeah, my friends always make fun of me. I can't write a happy song. It's just kind of that.
Is it okay if we play a little bit of this audio only YouTube that you?
Sure.
Okay, so go ahead. Yeah, you can hear a little of her style.
Complain about drowning when you never set foot in the deep end. You feel like a failure. Your stupid excuses, they're only as real as you make them. Your stupid excuses. 'Cause you don't listen, no matter what I'm saying. And now I'm straining my voice like I'm the crazy one, playing the victim, don't know what you did wrong. Oh, the damage you've done, and somehow you're the broken one. Do me a favor.
Very nice.
And return all
So,
the advice
do you want
I
to talk a
gave
little
you.
bit about the upcoming video and when that's going to be released?
Yeah, I actually just finished. We just wrapped up a video called "I Hate Me Too," which is like horror. Yeah,
it's a feel
self-explanatory.
good
It's a
kind of thing.
self-love anthem.
Yeah, it's a real feel.
It's a motivational
It's feel good
speech in a song.
Yeah, so it's more of tapping into the visual side because we didn't do a music video for that song. So we're gonna release that song and the music video on the same day, which will probably be in the next 2 months.
Now, who produced that for you?
Chris Rosa. He's my producer.
Chris Rosa.
Yeah.
That was very interesting.
Yeah,
very well produced.
Weird chords and stuff like that.
Yeah, and a little scratchy at the top.
Yep.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, we
heard that.
Use the record.
I didn't know
player
that
a lot.
whether that was my hearing or.
Nope. Yeah, people are like, did you
really
purposely put that like scratching in?
It's the professional technical term, a little scratchy.
A little scratchy.
A little scratchy.
Little Pete Yorn. Did you a little Yornish. It was a little Yornish.
Yeah. So tell us what else everyone is doing to use the internet to promote yourself and your work. What am I missing here? Any other tips, tricks?
A lot of the
Patreon, MySpace. What else is out there? What new platforms are people using? Musically or
TikTok
or
TikTok?
That thing.
Really?
Yeah, go ahead, Jer.
Something that I think is cool about the internet is that with social media and like Instagram and Facebook now, people have the opportunity to, you can like reach out to your favorite artist. You can hit up somebody who you love on direct messages, and when an artist responds, I have some of my friends who are like really doing it right now. It's fun to watch people comment on their stuff, and they get so excited when my friends will respond to their comments, and that's not something. So this direct like artist to fan relationship is like a really special thing right now, and it's not something that people really had access to before. It's the new fan mail.
And they're mentoring you as
Totally.
well along the way.
So do you have any stories? Who have you reached out to?
Me personally, no. It's interesting to watch. It's interesting and it gives me ideas of how I want to do things when I start rolling out my own music, I think.
Right, it can be really
like.
dynamic. Do you find amongst fellow artists that some people are really good and natural at the internet, and some people are like, I don't want to have to do it, don't make me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I have some friends who really use it to their advantage, and I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing on it so
it's
much,
time consuming.
and it is, yeah. It's
Right.
and
you want to write music.
It definitely requires
you
a
want
lot
to do
of
your thing, and then but then you have to weigh out how much time am I gonna spend on the promo part of it, and and pushing yourself artistically. You kind of have to push your ego too, because you're trying to get your name out, and the public just perceives it as a name.
It's very interesting to say that that's the definition of the 21st century musician. Like, if you want to have a career of this, it can't all, I mean, we wish it could be just making music with your friends and writing.
Yeah, but you gotta
part of the job description is making videos now and writing content for social media, which is so interesting that's something that I've had to come to learn in the past 2 years when I moved back to LA, where I'm from, and decided to be a musician. It's not all just me figuring out cool new chords on guitar in my bedroom. It's also,
You have to
knowing where to play them.
You're the whole record label. You're every department in a record label. You're the PR. You're the marketing. You design the poster or find someone who can do it. You're responsible for every aspect of promotion and creation, and it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, it's your baby, though. It's your baby. That's your music.
And that's also like pretty amazing because the internet provides artists a platform to not really need a record label. We have the ability to put music out on Spotify and on Apple Music or anywhere and do it how we want to do it. And that means with the creation of the music too. So music, I think, is at a really interesting place right now because of the internet and the streaming world that we're in right now and social media. And I think it's at kind of a renaissance.
It's empowering and overwhelming all at once.
It is. There's a lot going on. Yeah.
Maddie?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, as far as the, connection with, your audience online and how that's a lot of work, but it's part of what you have to do. The bands that I feel like I connect with the most are the ones where their Instagram pictures are not of them on a stage at a show. It's like, oh, like this is backstage. This is us writing the song. This is more of our personal life, which is like, it's great for me as a consumer, but I feel like it must be really invasive for the artists, for people to be demanding more of you and less of your content. Well, not less of your content, but just more of the personal life where it's not just you and your friends writing the music and that's the product.
Totally. And I think it's really important for musicians and any artist having kind of a public face to create those boundaries and to ask yourself, what do I want to share and what is private just for me?
Exactly.
And I think that, one principle of life is that we all need money to live. So this is not to sound mercenary or anything, but money follows passion. And so if people are passionate, they will spend money on something. So if they love the music, they'll buy some merch, they'll sign up for your Patreon, they'll feel like I identify through this music, and so it's part of me to support you guys. And so especially young people who are developing their sense of self, music is so important. You see the posters that kids put up in their room, that's them finding themselves, and you're a part of that. Especially if you write songs that have messages that are really powerful and uplifting and self-affirming. Go ahead.
I was just saying that I think that he was trying to come up with an original name, and so I thought of one, and it's
Jeremy?
It's super original.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it just popped in my head. I don't know where I thought of it, but Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh,
So
the lead up was fantastic.
All right.
It was really amazing.
Yeah, it was like a nice build, and then she landed it.
Yeah.
And while I'm talking about music that you identify with, it doesn't have to be uplifting. It can be the mood you're in. It can be dark. It can be twisted. It can be just someone that represents, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel right now. So yes, it can cover the spectrum of emotions, and it should, but kids will spend money on stuff that they feel like it reflects who they are.
I have a question about like the difference between you and Whoopi. Like, how do you guys like? Because you're a man and you're a woman. Do you think that the internet, like being a musician on the internet, there's like a different like, you know, you post more. Do you think you get different like attention from different people, and you might get attention from other people, or do you think it's pretty much just across the board the same?
Oh. Me and Whoopi as in me and this Whoopi.
Yeah.
I was a little bit.
Yeah, of course, the only Whoopi. I don't understand.
Of course.
What other Whoopi is there?
Completely
here?
unique name.
I thought we were going down a
Did I miss something?
Yeah, I don't know what
Again,
you guys are talking
I
about.
spaced out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
She just branded you Whoopi, and you're not going to be able to escape.
Ever. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's a
Interesting.
good question, because I know that a lot of comments are just like, you're so hot, or just something that has nothing to do with what you're putting out there. And then you get these comments that are like people's base level of humanness.
Yeah,
you know?
he gets that all the time, but what do you get? Like, what are your comments?
I get a lot of orders for like recipes.
For food.
No,
They think
I'm just kidding. People really want.
Grubhub?
People think you're Grubhub.
Yeah, no.
Or they want to know why you were so mean to that Republican girl this morning.
But wait a minute. That's a great name for Jeremy, Grubhub.
Oh, there we go.
Because, you know, look at Bare Naked Ladies. You know how that name came about? Because
Bare
they were
Naked
working
Ladies.
clubs
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't draw. And they found out, well, they changed their name to Bare Naked Ladies, put it up on the marquee. It was packed
Amazing.
every night. And that's how they came.
But did anyone feel that they had been misled?
Well, I don't know.
Did
some
that
of
ever come up?
They
Like,
might have.
3 songs
wanted their
in,
money
like,
back.
wait a
Wait a
second.
minute. I want my money back. But, well, the music was good enough. They hung in for 3 songs. Yeah. Before they made a stink.
That is
Yeah,
a great
how do you
point.
deflect from people that are just like ridiculous?
That's part of the engagement, though. I mean,
Can you?
Yeah.
You have to ignore some of it, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
feel like,
weird
yeah, it's
old men in DMs, probably.
Totally.
It's a
But-
Yeah.
good question for you because your age being what it is. Like, I feel like there must be a lot of
What it is.
What
like,
it is.
What it is.
what it is being that. I mean, at least to me, you look older than you are, and
Yeah.
that's been
She's
the
like-
case for a
Considerably.
while.
She looked like in her late
So-
50s.
She should not be left
Yeah.
alone with Jeffrey Epstein.
How
Let's just
flattering.
leave it there. She's a youngster.
Yeah. So how do you interact with people who are making comments that are clearly like inappropriate regarding your gender, your age, your looks?
I mean, thankfully, I don't have that big of a following at all, so I don't really get that much of it. If I get it, it's usually like once a week, and it's some weird DM. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ignore this.
Still
It's
once
kinda-
a week?
That's me.
That is insane.
Jamie,
Like
That's
some,
me.
I mean, I'm sure you guys,
You gotta-
like, everyone gets it. It's
Volume.
like, oh yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I think the most thing that I get, I posted this thing. This is kind of off topic, but I posted this thing like coming out, like, I'm gay, everybody thing, but not really. And I got a lot of you haven't had the right guy
Oh,
stuff,
Lord.
which is really
Whoa.
annoying.
Mm-hmm.
That I get a lot when people find that post. But besides that, it's not really.
Well, my-
I
Why
find
is that always a challenge for a guy? When a girl comes out, it's just like, all right,
See, I find that
engage.
I found that a little frustrating because when I came out, everybody was like, "Yeah, no, we know,
We were going to tell you.
We know.
we see it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. Like you didn't have to announce it. We knew.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
It's it. Well, that was something for my daughter when she came out too.
Mm-hmm.
She changed the pronoun. She was in a recording studio, and somebody said, "Why don't you change the pronouns in your music? You're being vague. You're not saying she loves me or like her or anything. You're just being vague." And that's when she wrote girls like boys do.
Mm-hmm.
And she just said, "Okay, I'm just going to lay it out there."
Yeah, just laying it
And
out.
Girls
yeah.
like boys do. And I think it's up to 120 million hits.
Oh yeah,
on
that
YouTube.
that's really
And
popular.
that's YouTube. That's
But
what
that does
YouTube
bring-
will do for you. And wait a minute, it attracted the attention of people who now have offered her a position to direct because she directs her own.
Oh no, her videos are really good.
She directs her own videos.
Yeah,
That's her thing.
That's incredible.
she's a triple threat.
Yeah.
But that is an interesting question
Yeah.
about artists, and if you are LGBTQ, do you write song? It used to be that Elton John wrote love songs to a girl.
women,
So it's
yeah.
like, are we past that? Can everyone just write to whoever
I think so.
they're drawn to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
well,
Well, as
That's
a
cool.
promoter, are you finding that more artists are free with their sexuality as far as like
being honest.
being honest and stuff?
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, maybe it's hard
definitely
not
in
to be
LA.
with social media because it shows who you are.
And definitely on the ground in LA, you see more than probably anywhere else except for New York and other major hubs around the world.
I was going to say it comes from all over though.
Yeah,
Argentina,
yep,
Brazil, Indonesia, wherever.
I mean, have you ever had an interaction where a venue was like, this person is LGBT, we're not going to have them perform here? Or vice versa?
That's never happened.
Okay.
This day and age?
I didn't think so, but I just wanted to
ancient. Yeah.
Not, and there's like a band I really like, Perta, Perta. They're playing San Diego Pride Festival. These Pride festivals are inviting tons of musicians. It's a huge, open, free event in most major cities around the country. So everything's welcoming this day and age. I mean, like, maybe it's different in rural parts of the country, but that's not what I know.
Well, if you're still very young, so if you were growing up and thinking, I think I have a crush on a girl or whatever, was your next thought, okay, that's fine?
No.
Oh, really?
No. I definitely pushed it all the way down.
Really?
Yeah, for like years. But then I moved out. When I was 16, and then I was like, around just a whole different.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only 2 years ago. So
she's been out and
it's
about.
More,
in the
I feel like
world.
it's more of an environmental thing. Like if you're brought up in, not saying I wasn't brought up in an accepting environment, but for just like even more external than that, it affects you. Like I didn't grow up in LA, so I grew up in a suburb of New York, which is still New York, but suburbs are different, and
it's just a phase.
Yeah.
You're
But
going through.
were you not seeing enough representation to know that people just are who they are?
I didn't really take notice to that. Like I don't remember there being any like openly gay female artists though, or actors that I was aware of. So I think that might have affected me. Like your daughter.
All you had was Boy George.
Yeah.
He wasn't even that open.
And you couldn't figure him out.
He was just like, I just wear dresses.
And did you see my daughter's videos?
Yeah.
So did that? Okay.
Yeah,
because
but
she gets a lot of that.
Come out when she had.
Oh, you had.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
because she gets a lot of that. And she gets a lot of that. Wow, you're so sexy. Wow, I'd love to be with you. I'd love, whatever. But she gets it from women.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a lecherous man flirting with her.
Yeah.
It's a lecherous
That's
woman
the goal.
flirting with her. And I think that distinction is we're going to work that out someday, but we're still working
I know
through
I'm
that.
a comedian and that I say
We're
that
working through that.
I want people to call me funny, but I've never got a "you're so sexy." I've only got "you're really funny." And then
You're
it's
so
like,
sexy, Lori. Especially the way you just said that.
Thank you.
Dina, what do you got?
So I just have a question for you guys. This mic is up kind of high. I forgive you. So in like this hour that you guys have been talking, and I don't know if it's like my fault, maybe I missed it, but I never heard anybody talk about like the genre of music that they're playing. And I wonder if this is just like a really interesting time right now in the music industry, because I'm thinking about like Lil Nas X, right, and Old Town Road, and how that's like hip hop meets country, and it's based on a sample from a 9 Inch Nails song. And it's when I was growing up in the 90s, like everything was like categories.
It's because you went into a record store and they had to put it in a bin.
Right. Is that why?
Well,
like,
it had
do
a
you guys
physical
feel
location where it belonged. Maybe that's why things are more fluid.
Well, it's also interesting that you say that because we have been talking a lot about the visuals and about how great it is that we post about popcorn and like things like that, which is also
right.
It's just very interesting. Now when people ask me what genre of music I play, I don't even like to say a genre. I was at a party a couple weeks ago and someone asked me, and we were standing right next to a taco stand, and I said, I play the kind of music that you want to listen to when you're eating tacos.
That's a good answer. But from this moment forward, whenever anyone asks you anything about what you do, please break into, why don't you come out to a show?
Okay, we have a deal.
Because then they'll come out, and
to
it will
the show.
answer all their questions.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
and turns every moment of your life into a musical.
I like that because you can be happy and sad eating tacos.
Yeah.
There we go. It works for both of us.
So it works for her and it works for you.
We can meet halfway there.
And everyone gets tacos.
We'll all play a What the Sound Taco
I think
show.
with all the gender bending that's been going on, there's genre bending right now.
Totally.
And if somebody like Billie Eilish shows up, what? WTF? Where'd she come from? And what kind of music is this? Does it fall into alt rock? Does it fall into alt folk? I don't know, but it's wonderful. And then, and Marianne Hill and all these, and then all of a sudden, Imagine Dragons goes electric, and it doesn't matter.
What do you think, Ben? Because you're seeing more of a big picture view of the music scene than
I've noticed as a promoter, I ask bands, what's your genre? And I realize that's not anymore ever a good question. Instead, as a promoter, I say, hey, tell me who you could see yourself opening for. 3 artists who could play the Wiltern, Staples Center, and then the Roxy. So
whose
all
Pandora
sorts of,
list would you show up on?
Yeah, right.
Like who's related artists. But like that's more leaning towards, I basically ask, who do you see your music falling in line with? And then that helps me out enough to build a bill. Sure.
That's good. That's really good, because if you notice when they're forced to answer that question, they never just say hip hop. They always say something /something / like they say
8 genres.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our whole society is becoming fusion.
And I think one of the other reasons besides the physical record bin that is no longer in existence is that kids can really, if they're musical, they can do a deep dive into what they like and then find out who influenced that person and who influenced that person. And so it used to be like, I found an old recording that I hit play and record while we were sitting around a piano when I was a child, and I was literally asking my mother to sing a song because I needed to remember the lyrics. Like, she was my internet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and it was like, it wasn't just like that I was saying, hey, Mom, sing that song we love. It was like I wanted to be able to sing the song myself, and I needed reference to the lyrics. And now anything you want to know, if a song's running around your head, you can Google 2 words and the internet will find that song. And so people can learn, and they can like drink at the trough of all things ever created. And
well
it's
said.
just,
Yeah.
it's just creating these genre-free musicians.
I have a question for Ben, back to the social media thing. When you're finding artists to book and people reach out to you, does the amount of followers they have influence whether or not you're going to book them?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. From a business perspective, as I'm starting to establish really good relationships with venues around town, and kind of, I don't do What the Sound to make money, but I do it to kind of establish relationships and keep them. And the followers matter, but the social engagement and the ratio matters more to me. So if they have 400 followers, but 100 likes per post, that's fine by me.
Interesting.
If they have 26,000 followers, but 80 likes per post, that's not fine by me. So
you're getting down to the meat of what we, wanted to talk about here today.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's like it's kind of like that. Like, I'll call it the Springsteen model, where for 10 years they were killing it in a couple of towns. Just killing it. Yeah. And so if that many people could be that on fire for this band, that meant that it could scale. And so when the match was lit, it did. And so you're sort of finding that like digitally or virtually.
And it fluctuates. Like I use that as kind of a, threshold to see if I'm willing to, continue working and continue looking at that artist. But then I see, what crew do they fall into? Who are some artists they collaborate with? Are they being explored by a record label? Like, there's one group I worked with who's now Motown record label's top priority. Their name's James Davis. They're really cool. At the time, their social media engagement wasn't great, but I knew that there was fire behind them. And I heard them, and I invited them to do a stripped-down acoustic set, and it was just mind-blowing.
Wow.
And social media engagement matters a lot to me, but yeah, there's different outlets that I explore as well.
Now, if you had an artist that really caught on fire all of a sudden, would you pull yourself away from what you're doing to manage that artist?
I would probably try to manage them on top of what I'm doing and stop what I'm doing if I needed to. But
so often they're lured away. Managers really take the brunt of a lot of it financially because their artists are all of a sudden lured away by somebody really big time, and they've got to go with them. And they've got to leave you behind. It's a tough one.
It is tough, and at some point the manager builds up to the point where they're the top manager. It's just something that comes with time as you kind of like build up your body of work and your reputation for finding. And you've got a really good ear and really good eye, and you know what you're looking for, and you know how to do it, and you also really have great people skills, and you guys want to work with managers that understand you, and they're stable, because artists can be. One day it's like exciting, and the next day you're really like freaking out because everything went wrong. And so you need someone that's just like, all right, everything's cool. I got this. We're moving forward. Build a foundation and kind of drive ahead with you.
Even if you're not managing, if you're just booking. I mean, I think of those bookers like Jan Smith, who booked the Ice House for comedians, and he's a comedy club owner, and he's beloved.
Everyone loves him.
He's a booker. And another guy in New Jersey that used to pile like Jerry Seinfeld and Eddie Murphy and my partner and myself and Jimmy Brogan into a car and drive out to Long Island.
Off the edge of a pier.
Yeah, and we do.
Wow.
Off the edge of a pier.
I've had it with you people.
And I know it. I shouldn't drop names. Paul McCartney told me that. Anyway.
I love that joke.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorites.
Me too. So I said it. But he is beloved to this day. And 35 years later, all these comics that used to just ride in the back seat of a car going to a gig, the booker, the honest booker, the one that came through for you, that is a very important person.
And you don't forget those times.
And I think it's great that you're. I'm sorry, Louise.
It's just an important time in your life. It's a time when you're carving out your path. It's like you're going to look back on these moments and be like, that was awesome. Remember how we all stuffed into one car? Yeah. You won't remember like the leg cramp or anything. You'll be just like, that was so cool.
And your artists will have the stories to tell about you too. Yeah.
Well, Ben is that for so many people in the city. It's really amazing. He's steady, he's hardworking, he's communicative, and I don't know how, but he's everywhere at the same time. Like there could be 5 acts in LA, and he saw every single show.
He's been cloned.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No, it's nuts.
He's at home with my wife right now.
I went to the Roxy, the Moroccan, and Gold Diggers, 3 venues in one night the other night. And it seems to maybe be reoccurring, actually, jumping around town.
Is that an Uber thing?
No, that's a me driving and not drinking thing.
Oh.
Which saves money. So that's
being responsible.
You got to park.
And do you just get out of your car and let it roll down the street and then catch up with it later?
I give a random guy a tip, drive it around for 10 minutes. I'll be right back.
It drifts down to the rainbow.
All right, we're going to do Facebook feed time real quick, and then you guys are going to do one song together, right?
Oh, yes, please.
So stay tuned because it's about to get exciting. So in Facebook feed time, it comes to us from our friend Amy Anderson, who writes, in response to backlash from young Halle Bailey being cast as the live-action Little Mermaid, Amy wrote, all these people pissed off about a black Ariel. All these people pissed off about a black Ariel? Ariel. Where were they when Donny Osmond was playing Shang and Harvey Fierstein was playing Yao in Mulan? Matthew Broderick and Jeremy Irons were voicing the Lion King's characters. Also, Ariel is a fictional mermaid. Rob Marshall picked a talented, hardworking, beautiful young woman who can actually sing. If you're mad at that, then you just keep living your long, miserable life. And my favorite comment, she got a lot of comments because it was a great post and a great point that she was making. I think I even posted a picture of Chuck Connors as Geronimo because he had blue eyes. And so what the hell? As much as Chuck Connors is dreamy, but I don't think if we did the ancestry on him, we'd find any Native American. But this is my favorite response that Amy got. It's from Joel Sauce. She quoting my current favorite post in response to this asshat group. Friendly reminder that The Little Mermaid is based on a book by Hans Christian Andersen, published in 1837, where Ariel has her tongue ripped out in exchange for feet that bleed the entire time she's on land, by the way. She comes on land to try to win the prince's love in order to steal part of his soul. Mermaids apparently don't have souls, but live for 300 years, so I guess you win. You win some, you lose some. She fails, and the prince marries someone else. She contemplates murdering him in his bed, but can't bring herself to do it, so she dies, melts into sea foam. Oh, by the way, her skin is green. And
I need that to be made into a movie.
that's my
right
favorite.
now.
Yeah. It's the long thing, and then and she's green. So why can't we find green representation?
So there are a lot of like really great memes right now about like the not my Ariel, whatever. And one really funny one I just saw is like compromise reached. Scarlett Johansson will play Black Little Mermaid.
She can play everyone.
We can work across the aisle.
Quick question though.
Yeah.
Halle Berry, isn't she? She's in her early 50s?
No, that's where I was confused. This is another young lady named Halle Bailey. She just spells it the same name because her parents wanted to confuse all of us when she got old enough to be in movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's probably named after Halle Berry because it's the same spelling, Halle. And as it was going up on Twitter, I was just like, why are people so upset about Halle Berry? Like,
yeah, because
everyone loves Halle Berry.
Like, oh, okay, like sure, but then I keep seeing like reference to like a young woman, and I'm like, she does look young. I will not deny that. Yeah. But Google says she's like 50. She's like 51 or 2.
Yeah. Like, I thought it was like an animation thing, and she was just going to be doing the voice, and that people are upset that she was doing the voice, and I was just like, what's wrong with people?
What happens if she got the part because everybody thought it was Halle Berry?
Oh.
Which brings up a good point, is that she changed her name just slightly so people could say maybe it's Halle Berry.
So instead of Whoopi Goldberg, maybe
Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg. The girl whose Ariel is Chloe Hale.
Lori, you're really bad at naming people, Lori. It's not one of your talents.
How dare you?
All right, so we're going to rearrange, and we'll talk amongst ourselves while you guys jump out and go over to our new musical corner.
Cool. So this is a song that Jeremy and I wrote together when we actually first met, about a real thing that happened when we first met, and Ben actually is the reason that we met, which is pretty cool. So, and it's going on my album. It's called Party. Gonna be late again to another party with a round of fake friends. Throw on a dress and then drive down to K-Town. They ask me what I'm up to, but they don't have a clue what I'm going through. And there in the corner is you. See you walk outside, mystery and quiet eyes. We talk all night about the music and the weather. Think we might just be sitting here forever. Strangers come and go, but we don't notice. You have taken all my focus from the couch on the porch outside of the party. From the couch on the porch outside of the party. Yeah. Waiting on a text, don't know what to expect. In a room full of red Solo cups, and I don't know what will happen next. No one to talk to, so I question my new hairdo. And there in the corner is you. See you walk outside, mystery and quiet eyes. We talk all night about the music and the weather. Think we might just be sitting here forever. Strangers come and go, but we don't notice. You have taken all my focus from the couch on the porch outside of the party. From the couch on the porch outside of the party. Take it, Jeremy. We talk all night about the music and the weather. Think we might just be sitting here forever. Strangers come and go, but we don't notice. You have taken all my focus from the couch on the porch outside. We talk all night about the music and the weather. Think we might just be sitting here forever. Strangers come and go, but we don't
Never wanna leave this party. Never wanna leave this party. Never wanna leave this party.
That was awesome.
Wonderful.
Our panel is Jamie Elcroft and Lori Roggenkamp. Our producer is Dina Friedman. Our tech team looks like it's Lane McFadden and Francesco Demanda. Our sound mixer is John Maddox. Our webmaster is Bill Filipiak. If you have found something wonderful online, you can write to us at thingsIfoundonlinepodcast.com. I want to thank Jamie Elcroft, Eda Green, and we have, I don't know if I introduced you, but Maddie's here. And we have a Ben Schechter and it's hard to rattle off names.
Jeremy Schmetterer.
Jeremy Schmetterer and Elizabeth Woolf, Dina Friedman, and I'm Louise Palanker.
Yeah.
Be safe, be well, be kind. Bye-bye.